Welcome to Goalie Science, the podcast that bridges the gap between goaltending, science, and peak performance. I'm your host, Jamie Phillips, a former professional goalie, currently pursuing a doctorate in physical therapy and specializing in goalie performance coaching. Joining me as always is Dr. Ben Cernick, a seasoned goalie coach and sports analytics specialist. Whether you find yourself at home, on the road, or at the rink, grab a cup of your favorite beverage and let's drop the puck on this week's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Goalie Science Podcast. It's your host, Dr. J. Phillips. I am flying solo today because Ben is incredibly busy, and I know we took 3 weeks off, so I do apologize. But we are joined with a guest. Let's see if I get this right. Stefano Cantali. We're good? Okay. Former college. Actually, you know what? Hey, tell the audience, those are listening, those are watching, a little bit about yourself, you know, who you are, what you do. I think it's probably, I always like when the guests do it. That way I can't mess it up.
Well, the hockey career will be here till tomorrow morning, so we'll cut it short. Basically born and raised in Montreal, Quebec. Played my whole youth hockey and juniors in Quebec, including the Cemetery League. Don't ever play there's a goalie. And then got lucky enough to play for Team Canada. Got a full scholarship to Mercyhurst University. Super grateful for that opportunity. It was very short-lived because of eligibility issues and then a really bad knee injury. Would have liked to have you in my corner a long time ago. And then a short stint overseas in Belgium during COVID. And now I work as an advisor and create hockey content to grow the game that we love.
I think that's where most people are going to know. I should have led with that. Most people are going to know you on the internet as Mr. Heffy. And that is kind of your internet persona. And it's kind of weird. Like I was thinking about this the other day, actually. If those are watching on YouTube, I have my camera here. And I was telling my wife that I don't have any creative juices. Like I haven't posted in a few days. The content, I just haven't been inspired to make content. But for you were pumping it out. So where did that start for you in terms of, hey, I'm going to hop on the internet. I'm going to have this persona, you know, not that your persona isn't you, but I'm going to have this pseudonym that you're going under, and I'm going to make goalie content. What was kind of the beginning of that?
It started first when I was in Belgium. I had been coaching back in Montreal for a long time, and my goalies were asking me for videos on tips, what they should work on, things like that. So I started making the videos and send them privately, and I was like, you know what, I could just put this out and some kids will use it. So I started posting it that way, and the feedback I was getting was more of, oh, this is funny, like we like it, things like that. And it quickly turned into, I was lucky enough to have two coaches in my life that really showed me that the game is meant to be a game. It's fun. It teaches you a bunch of life skills. Yes, you have a big dream, but at the end of the day, you're playing this because you love to play. And I lost track of that when I got to juniors. So it quickly turned my content into, let me show the fun of the game. Let me help grow hockey, why we love playing. Yes, it's a super expensive sport. There's a lot of politics, but at the end of the day, it's kids playing a game that they love. So I started making more of the humorous side of it and just changing my content up. And I had a lot of fun doing that. And there's two opportunities that I've been super proud of. Last year, I went to the Wish Cup and I was able to raise $7,000 to donate to Make-A-Wish Foundation. And 2 years ago, I was able to raise enough to help a family put a little kid, a 6-year-old that I grew up. He was in my neighborhood, got him a full set of gear, equipment, and paid for a full season worth of hockey. So I was super excited to be able to do that, and it's kind of what I want to do with my content. I want to be able to raise money and help kids play hockey because it is an expensive sport, but from my experience, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I have everything I'm grateful for today in my life is because of hockey.
Yeah, no, that is awesome to hear. And let's talk, like, going back to your journey. So you grew up in Montreal. You mentioned that you played kind of everywhere, including the Cemetery League. And so, I mean, I think one of the good things here too is you also bring a lot of experience to some of the expertise, especially on the advising side. But for those that don't know, what is the Cemetery League?
So the Cemetery League is Junior A in Quebec. It's known as Junior AAA. They can't even go by Junior A because we have a Junior A for those who just want to play for fun. And the reason it's the Cemetery League is because there's a huge amount of great hockey players, but your career ends there because everybody's brainwashed that the Q is the only route. So you're trying to make it to the Q. You're a bubble guy. You end up playing Junior AAA. And there's no college exposure. Nobody from the U.S. comes to see you. Nobody from other leagues in Canada come to see you. So all the great hockey players go there to die. I remember I had a defenseman, 110 points in about 40 games. he used to drink a 6-pack before every game, and he still finished with 110 points. So it is not a very serious league. Our post-game meals were hot dogs. We didn't have pre-game meals. I was the only guy on the team working out. So that's why it's a cemetery league, because it's a joke. Guys don't train to play there.
How do you find your way out of that into Team Canada East?
I got super lucky to play in the Canada Cup. So back when I played, every league used to make an all-star team, go to a tournament called the Canada Cup, and you showcase your talent in front of coaches, scouts, and kind of get some exposure. So that's the first time I got NCAA experience or exposure. And I got lucky enough to get invited to Team Canada East at 19. And thank God I stood on my head at that all-star tournament, because at Team Canada camp, I couldn't stop a beach ball if my life depended on it. I was awful. So they took me based on that tournament as a backup goalie to a 16-year-old who, Hunter Jones, who was part of the Wild organization, was unreal at 16. I was supposed to be his backup. He messed up versus Team Russia in the exhibition, ended up taking the net, and everything changed from that.
It changed from that. What was the recruiting process like for Mercyhurst? Everyone has a different story in terms of how they get seen. For you, it's definitely an uphill battle. But what was Mercyhurst the first school that reached out to?
No, they were actually the 5th out of 6. So I only had 6 schools reach out to me. First was Colorado College at that Canada Cup. And the reason I went there, and it sounds terrible, but they're the only ones who stuck around with my suspension. Everybody else kind of backed off once they found that I was going to get a year suspension from the NCAA. So it was a no-brainer to take it. I was lucky to get a full ride. But it was kind of weird. I finished Team Canada. I got home. I got a call from one of my teammates from Team Canada. He goes, "Hey, Mercyhurst is going to call you tomorrow. They're looking for a goalie." And he asked me about you yesterday. Okay. So they called me the next day. And right away, the coach was like, "We like you. You did great. How soon can you come for a campus visit?" So within a week, I had to find a way to go to a campus visit. We didn't do the, what do you call them? The visits that the school pays for.
Official visits or fly downs?
Yeah. My dad drove down with me. It's an 8-hour drive. He wanted to see. So he drove down with me, spent the couple days on the campus, loved it. Small community, 8 kids in a class. You can't go wrong with that. And at the end of the day, right before leaving, he turns around and goes, "Well, here's a full ride offer. You got 2 days to give us an answer." So, and this is right before playoffs in junior. So I'm like, okay, well, I haven't even had a chance to talk to these other schools yet. They're still figuring out if I'm suspended or not. And at the time, the other team that was really, really interested was Clarkson. And they had said, "We'll give you a few months to figure out your suspension." So the offer's on the table. Went back to Montreal, and I remember being at a team dinner, and I texted my dad saying, "Screw it, we're signing this paper. I want to go play college hockey. They're giving me a chance." So we signed. I got back on a Friday night. Saturday evening, I was committed to Mercyhurst.
That is a quick turnaround. Now, did you have anyone? This is going to kind of tail into almost a shameless plug in terms of what you do. Do you have anyone in your corner? Do you have an advisor at that time?
I did not. So I had one advisor when in my first year Bantam. My parents are not hockey players. They're not from a hockey background. And we had somebody approach us, charge us $3,000, and 2 days later, he blocked our number. I remember trying to call him, text him, email him. We could not. We got straight voicemail every time. Never spoke to us. So quickly, my dad turned around and said, "We're never doing this again." And I had started personally emailing coaches and teams every single year to get a tryout, which never amounted to anything, obviously. So I never had one. And then coming to college, I knew nothing about college hockey, knew nothing about what schools to look at, what to look at when you're out of school. It was basically who's going to give me a chance to play and who's going to make it affordable, because, as you know, college is super expensive.
Yeah. That's, it seems to be kind of the more, well, I don't want to say the more common thing, but I've heard that story, similar story many times, and it's very unfortunate. Before we hop into the agency and AHA and what you provide there, you'd mentioned a couple of times the suspension. So explain what your situation was, and then it's different. The game has changed. The landscape in terms of the rules and things in NCAA and major junior is ever evolving. But we are from the time where it was still like that hard and fast go, no go kind of thing. So how did you get caught up in this 1 year suspension?
So I knew nothing about college hockey. Got drafted to the Shawinigan Cataracts out of my 18U season. And that was my hometown team. I have family there, so I was super excited. Because I knew nothing about college, I went to camp and played an exhibition game. Now, the minute you go to you go to major juniors, so the QMJHL, OHL, or WHL for more than 48 hours, technically speaking, you lost your eligibility. There's plenty of loopholes around it. At the time, I did not know them. I played an exhibition game. The year after, I got traded to another team in the league, played another exhibition game. And my third year, got traded again and played another exhibition game. So 3 exhibition games made me break that rule. I'm no longer considered amateur because major juniors is considered professional for that $50 a week to pay for Subway. And because of that, I had to open a case versus the NCAA. So I didn't open a lawsuit, but I challenged their verdict on me. And originally they gave me a 5-year suspension so I could never play college hockey. Had to go to court and battle them for 9 months for them to come back and give me a 1-year suspension. And it's not a red shirt, it's an actual suspension. So my freshman year, technically I was rostered, but did not touch the ice. Couldn't practice, couldn't play, couldn't lift, couldn't travel. I had to skate by myself at 6 a.m.
So what's the difference between a suspension and a red shirt?
So a red shirt is you're not rostered. It doesn't count as a season. So in college, you're allowed to be there for 5 and play for 4. So for instance, if you come in freshman year, you tear your ACL during off-ice exams, well then you redshirt that year, it doesn't count towards your eligibility. You still have 4 years you could play. In my case, I was rostered as a player, just not allowed to touch the ice.
Okay. Now, does the 48-hour rule still exist in NCAA?
Now, there is loopholes around it. So, for example, if you were to go to an OHL camp, you can go until the exhibitions as long as your dad pays for it. So if you get a receipt saying, I paid for my share of the ice, my share of the hotel, my share of the food, whatever it may be, you're fine. But if you step on the ice for an official exhibition game, now you lost your eligibility. So what I tell guys is, it's a great experience. It's really cool to be there. You're playing for some great hockey players. Go. If after 48 hours, you know, okay, this isn't for me, pick up and leave. If you're not sure, because some guys are better off major juniors than college, stay until the exhibitions and pay that $100 for your share of the ice. And get a receipt, and then from there make a decision.
How much is that enforced? Because I remember going through my first ever OHL mini camp, main camp. I mean, I was stressed because for us, it was, I mean, playing AAA hockey in Ontario, the OHL before Instagram and all these different things, the OHL was the only way to get to the pros, and they put in this 48-hour rule, and everyone was so stressed, and I was stressed. I was sweating. I had a timer on my phone and everything. And I remember we went to Boston Pizza as a team, and I was like, I don't know if they're allowed to buy us dinner. And everyone was just relax. No one enforces it. Is it enforced, or is it kind of one of those phantom things that people will only pull up if they want to?
So it is enforced if you make it known. So for example, in my case, I admitted it, because the truth is, if you don't admit it and get caught, you get suspended for 5 years, and the team gets suspended for a year. So you're putting your team in jeopardy.
Okay.
Now, basketball and football are the moneymakers for the NCAA. They couldn't care less about hockey. So when you're going through your college, what's that website that you got to fill out an application?
Clearinghouse?
Clearinghouse. When you're going through that, if you don't admit it, they will not double check it. Their only resource to double check it is EP. You go into a camp, it's not going to be an elite prospects. So I made the mistake of admitting everything I did, and that's why I got caught. A friend of mine who graduated from Vermont, so I'm going to out him now, Will LeMay, played with me, he played a couple of preseason games in major juniors. I told him, I said, don't admit anything. Yeah. He didn't admit, he didn't get a suspension, played his 4 years, did great, played in the East Coast, and now he's playing Italy. So they don't do the digging because hockey doesn't bring them money. Football and basketball does. So technically speaking, you're safe as long as you don't get caught. Now, there is situations where if you show up at NCAA, you're 3 points a big game, you're unreal, someone can go and tell them, hey, he broke his eligibility, he shouldn't be playing, and that's where you get screwed. So there is that slippery slope you got to be careful with. And I've only seen one case where a player got caught playing afterwards, and it's the guy who played at Bowling Green. I can't remember his name right now. He basically played... No, it's a different guy. He never ended up playing college hockey because he played one game in the OHL, a preseason game, and then decided he wanted to go to college, went to college, and in preseason he had 15 points in 3 games, something ridiculous. And because of that, someone ratted him out. A team that wanted to recruit him, he said no to, ratted him out, and he got caught, got suspended. I can't remember the name of it, but I remember bringing it up in my court case because I used it in my favor.
Well, that sounds like kind of be stressful going through that. You know, as a young man, they say you're still a teenager going through that kind of stuff. Did you have to find your own lawyers? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, so I reached out to Stephen Bayless, who had done the same thing. But he only got a 10-game suspension. He played at Bowling Green. He was Carleton Place captain, Unreal hockey player, played in the OHL for a game. He got a 10-game suspension, so I reached out to him and said, hey, can you refer me your lawyer? I'm going through the same thing. The lawyer I hired, or his lawyer, after winning the case, got hired by the NCAA so that it wouldn't happen again. And that guy referred me to somebody else saying he was my partner. He can help beat the system. The guy was based out of Dallas. And I got lucky. Mercier's covered those costs too. So that's why I chose them. They covered everything for me.
Mm.
But to be honest with you, the lawyer wasn't great. I did all the research. I found Stephen Bayless' case, all the pros and cons. The Bowling Green guy that I can't remember his name right now. I did all that research and sent it to him, and he just basically presented it.
Now, we seem to be mentioning Bowling. Bowling Green seems to be the common denominator here. So take like a case like Austin Swankler. He played at Michigan Tech the year after I was done coaching there, and I know of him. So I pulled up his elite prospects right here. He played 59 OHL games, followed by COVID, and then 2 years at Bowling Green, 1 year at Michigan Tech, and he's now going to Chatham University Division III.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
So first, I'm still curious to know how he fell off the wagon, because he was great. He was unreal. College hockey, he was doing really well. I actually reached out to you. I remember that. I tried to meet with him. I'm trying to get the whole story. From what I heard, the COVID year, they counted that as a suspension year for him, and it counted towards his eligibility. But because of COVID, everybody got an extra year of college hockey, so he gets 4 years. So I don't know the full story, and to this day, I'm still trying to figure out how he got his eligibility back. Because he played a full year in the OHL, he should not be eligible to play college hockey. From what I hear from resources is the COVID year counted as a suspension year, and he had to pay a massive fine.
Yeah, we could talk about the nuances of that for a long time, but it seems it's still sort of gray. I used to think it was like a hard, fast, black and white, these are the rules, you got to follow it. But it seems like, some people are able to fit through the cracks. Some people serve suspensions that are 5 years, 1 year, no suspensions. Now there's talk of the NCAA allowing major junior hockey players. For you working in the industry, what is the current status on that? Do you think that's going to go through 100%?
I personally hope it doesn't go through. I'm a believer that you're either going to school or you're not. There's a reason you chose to go to major juniors, because you think you're the next great thing, and that's the fastest route to the NHL, right? That's why guys are going there instead of going to school. Mm-hmm. So I personally hope they don't change their rule and say, you made your bed, lay in it, figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it is going that way because of the NLI and everybody making money. They lost control. They lost all power, all control. Giving everybody an extra year of college hockey, now allowing them to make money off of their name, which was a great thing, right? Because you remember being in college, you live off.
Yeah. I was so poor.
So for that, it's a great thing. But because of that, they lost all control. And how can you justify a kid making $100,000 off of his own name, but he can't get paid $50 a week from a team? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. Because in major juniors, you don't make any money. You're barely covering your gas. So that's where I think they're going to have to push this through. I think it's still a 3 or 4 years out, because you got to go through all the rules, right? What does it take to come to college hockey? Because these guys played 3 years of major juniors. Half of them are brain dead. They have no education. There's no way they're holding a 2.5 to play college hockey. So will they make it? That's the tricky part. And it kicks back all the junior A guys now, because the junior A guys are going to end up being D3 guys, and the junior Bs are going to end up ACHA. So personally, I think every division will get stronger, but a lot of good hockey players will be left behind because of this.
Yeah, I can see that. And I know when we were in Boston, we kind of went back and forth and all this. And I think ultimately U Sport's going to hurt the most, because their player base is then just going to go play college hockey, unless U Sports lets players play from like.
Well, I think U Sports will get stronger. I think U Sports will get stronger, because now all the junior A guys, instead of going to play D3, they'll go play U Sport, and they'll be able to battle.
Yeah, that is true. I also wonder how the restructuring of these junior leagues is going to influence that as well. It's
That's
so
been more of a
crazy,
nightmare than anything else. Honestly, that's been more of a nightmare than anything else. Who's going unsanctioned? Who's not? Who has player limits? Who doesn't? Which coach is screwing over kids because he's scared to lose them to the BCHL? Like, I was on the phone with the junior coach. I'm not going to out anybody, and he straight up told me I didn't want to play him this year as a rookie because I knew I was going to lose him next year to BEC if I did. What are you doing?
That's one of the harsh reality. Like, it sucks to hear that, and because like for us, you an advisor, me as a coach, and you as a coach as well. It's just like all we want is the best for our players, and then you have situations like that. But let's backtrack a little bit. How did you get into advising, and how did you end up with this role at AHA? And I want to just preface here that my EGM program, there is a little bit of a partnership with AHA. I like the things that they do. To be honest, I've had a lot of bad experience with agents and advisors, my own personal career, and some players, and everything that AHA has done has been first class. So I have to thank them for that. But that's my shameless plug now and my disclosure of
I appreciate
interest.
that.
But how did this? So you end up, you're Mercyhurst, things go south. How'd you end up advising?
COVID. So went to play in Belgium, broke my knee. Wife looked at me and said, "Okay, it's enough. Time to come home." And I was like, "You're right. It's time to grow up." I just proposed and everything. And I got a customer service job after college. And if anybody's worked in customer service, it's absolutely miserable. You deal with complaints all day long, and something about Quebec people, they complain even more than everybody else. Shouldn't be saying that, but too bad. And AHA had posted a job, and I was like, you know what? I had a bad advisor. I might be able to change the stigmatism. I know that there's a lot of negativity out there concerning them. I was like, it might be a way for me to help kids play hockey, help kids that were like me that wanted to leave Quebec that just had no resources to do it. I might be able to do that. So applied for the job. I got the job, and it was COVID, so I couldn't be coaching, but I could help kids in the US that were playing because some leagues are still playing. So got my feet under me a little bit, started meeting with players. Braden was there. He was on a lot of my consults at first so that he can kind of guide me in what to say, what not to say. And a big thing is, like, nowadays in all my consults, I don't guarantee anything. There's a player calling me, I want to play in the null. Okay, I will send you to camp. I'll make sure the coach knows who you are and he knows that you're a great player. But if you suck on the ice, I can't fix that. It's that simple. And in the first few months, to be honest with you, I didn't know if it was for me, because even today I still get that itch for coaching. There is something that is great about being on the ice with them every day and working with them and seeing their progression. But it was COVID. I was working remotely. My wife was in the US, so I could work and travel, and it helped. I was traveling across the US seeing players, so it just fit. And I'm good at what I do, so I've stuck with it. I get to stay involved in hockey. I get to help grow it, help kids play longer. I loved my junior experience, even if I played at home in a terrible league. And so if I can help some kids play a little longer, why not?
Yeah, that I definitely think for you, like I don't know, I feel like I'm just pumping your tires the whole time. This episode is gonna have to be sponsored by AHA. Gotta send a check in the mail. But I the thing is too is, like, being around you guys even for that quick stint in Boston, is I could tell that you guys cared, and I think that was like the biggest thing. And I think ultimately, like, that's what I looked for in like my agents and advisors, and I had the same one all the way through. And he is a fantastic guy, but when you see, there were some things I didn't love in terms of, career wise, but going through and hearing other people, and then when I had to deal with my first European agent, it's just like, you just want someone that cares. It's the same with coaching. Like, you just want a coach. You want a coach that cares. Someone who is going to be there in your corner fighting for you. And so when the agent, advisor, whatever you want to call him, that role definitely has this like dark cloud hanging over it, where if you say you're an advisor, everyone just assumes you're a scumbag.
Yep.
That's just it's called spade a spade here. So for you, when you go and meet a parent for, you scout a kid, you meet the kid and their parents, like, what does that process look like for you? Or is it mostly players reaching out to you first?
So We do both. I'll go with the players who reach out to us because I'm not the one recruiting them. They reached out to us because of our social media. They like what we say. So for me, the big thing is I listen to what they say, what their goals are, and then I'm brutally honest. My 3 things is if I can tell you, you suck, you're not ready for that. And I say that brutally honest right now. Like, I don't say it that way, but if the kid says he wants to play at an all and I say, no, you need a year of junior B or tier 2 in Canada to move up there, he's receptive to it. Okay, good. The second thing is they need to understand I'm never going to promise anything. I will do everything in my power to get you in front of the right eyes. But if you don't perform, it's up to you. I can't fix what you do on the ice. I'm not the one playing. It's your career. And then the third thing for me, and the most important one, is an open line of communication. You need to be comfortable with me. So I end all with my calls saying, look, if after this call you don't feel comfortable where it's midnight, you're on a road trip back, you're pissed off, you don't feel comfortable calling me to talk to me to calm down, then I'm not the right guy for you. Because like you said, there is that you need to trust this person. You need to know somebody's there for you. So I tell all my guys, I don't care if it's midnight or 2 a.m, send me a text. If I'm up, I will call you right away. If not, at 6 a.m. when I wake up, I'm calling you. We're going to talk. And like, I have a couple of your goalies from your EGM program that I work with. And one of them, we're going to name him Ethan. Unbelievable person, unbelievable goalie. He knows he can text me at any point and I will be there. We spoke on the phone yesterday for an hour. He's going to Pueblo this weekend. I'm letting him be because I need him to be in his bubble to perform. But come Monday morning, I will sit on the phone with him for 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it takes. First, to talk about the camp and make sure that he's in a good spot for himself. That's what matters to me, because at the end of the day, hockey's going to end for all of us. You need to take your experience from hockey and use it as a positive towards your next steps.
What are the rules surrounding advisors or agents and kind of the language around that, the finances around that? I know when I was growing up, there was you couldn't call an advisor an agent. That automatically made you ineligible. I put that in air quotes for those that are watching, or excuse me, listening. There's also, there couldn't be any sort of exchange, any sort of monetary or benefits. You could have like a sort of a handshake agreement, but if your advisor gave you sticks or any of these things, then you were ineligible. But now I'm getting, now that I'm in the thick of things with a minor hockey organization, there are advisors that are giving their 14-year-old, 13-year-old players like new sticks, new gear, new everything, like just decked out head to toe, flying them to different places. Like, how am I missing something? Like, am I the old guy that's yelling at clouds now, or have things just changed?
No. So we still follow that book, and that's why we lose a good amount of players. I can't tell you how many families I've sat down with and they've turned around and said, well, if you're not going to get my kid 12 sticks this year, why would I sign with you? Well, because the NCAA rule is I'm not supposed to give you anything. I can get a discount for you to buy it at an affordable price. I can't buy it for you. That's giving you free stuff. That's a professional athlete. But yeah, we call those in the industry the $1 agreement, where you're my advisor for $1 so that you didn't break NCAA rules, and they're giving you all the perks of NCAA, of pro, and they're passing it as, you want it in a raffle, you want it this way. Like the dumbest things possible, that if somebody looked into it, you'd get caught. But nobody cares because they're all attracted to that free stuff. But then they come to find out later on where you're a number on the list. And I can't tell you how many players have called me saying, I signed with this agency, and it's a huge agency that has NHL players. I haven't talked to my advisor in 4 months. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. You know what I mean? Like, if he's not even checking up with you, hey, how are things going? How's school going? Like, that's a problem. You're a number on a list.
Yeah. No, so in order to be eligible, can an advisor work pro bono, or do you have to pay an advisor? How does that work?
You technically need to be paid for your services. Okay. Pro bono means that's where you fall under the $1 agreement. The $1 agreement is technically legal because you're getting paid for the service.
Okay.
So a lot of advisors fall under that, and prove to me you paid me $1. You know what I mean? Like, does anybody actually care? But technically he's paid for his services, and the contract's written up in a way that saves the kid.
Okay. That makes sense. Fair enough. Yeah. I wish things were a little bit more straightforward, because I have a ton of parents that ask me these things, and I don't know the answer to them because, I'm not an advisor. I don't have any desire to be an advisor. I actually like my role of just being a pre-advisor. My job is to find advisors for my athletes. I was like, I'll just find someone else that can do this, because I don't want to, this is too much stress for me. But for you, so what's your typical athlete profile? Like you're looking for someone, what are the boxes you're trying to check in terms of the skill wise, the kid as a person, as well as I know, and parents listening might not love this, but also the parents. We, as coaches and as advisors, we also are evaluating the parents. So what is your ideal client looking like?
I'll go general. I'm not going to go position based.
Okay.
When within 5 minutes of warm-ups, I know if I want him or not. Kid's got to step on the ice. He can't be the guy flipping his flow left and right, checking who's in the stands. Get on the ice, focus on your game. The guy who's in the corner stretching, or he already took 10 shots, he's wheeling back and forth, doing all that stuff, love to see it. Body language is huge. You made a bad play, you let in a bad goal, don't show it. I don't care how bad it is. Get up, get back, focus, do it again. The guy who's receptive on the bench, if coach is talking to you and you can see he's listening, that's a good thing. Well-dressed before and after game. These kids nowadays showing up to the rink in jeans and baggy t-shirts freaks me out.
And Crocs.
Oh my God. Or don't shower after a game. If a coach is coming to talk to you and you're disgusting, like it's awful. Shower after your games. We had to shower in Adam or squirts, whatever you called it. Once you played competitive hockey, you had to shower. Like there's nothing wrong with it. Put on a bathing suit. I don't care. If you're coming out to a coach and you smell awful, it looks bad. But overall, just their work ethic. You made a mistake. Are you back checking, making that second effort? Or as a goal, you made a bad rebound. Are you diving for it? You know what I mean? Like you can coach those mistakes. That's what you're there for. You're fixing all the little details. It's that second effort. It's the body language. It's the attitude on and off the ice. Does he care more about who's in the stands or care more about what he's doing on the ice? How he presents himself. Like things like that matter to me because the hockey part is coachable. The person isn't. And then as a parent, when the parent is getting too involved, or if like there's a client, or not a client, the person I met with the kid, he was unreal. And then I watched the game and his father was yelling all game long. I was like, no, thank you. I'm good. I don't want to deal with this. I have a player right now that is an unbelievable hockey player. His father calls me every single day for like 2 hours a day, comparing him to every other kid in the league. It's a problem. Especially when you're playing under 15s, I understand the parents getting involved in a respectful manner. Hey, what's happening? Can you give me an update? I have questions about this. There's no problem with that. But when your kid's getting off the ice and he's scared to come and see you after a game, that's a problem. Your kid is playing AAA. He's got coaches. You've hired skill coaches, training coaches, mental coaches, nutritionists. You have no business ripping your kid apart. You're his parents, right? So that's a big thing for me. And then, like I said, I have no problems parents texting me for an update or I have questions or whatever. Like I'll sit on the phone with parents all the time, but don't be calling me every day comparing him left and right to other kids. Your kid is different from every other hockey player. So his situation is going to be 1,000 times different.
At what age do you, I know it's different because you're going to have clients of all different age, but what age would you say, like, and this is actually a question I get a lot, what age is like kind of that sweet spot for a parent and a kid to start to reach out to advisors if an advisor hasn't already approached them?
As much as I still think it's too young with the landscape of the game right now, I would say 15, 14, 15 U. Just because the landscape of the game has changed so much. When we played, you played in your association till 18s. At 18s, you might have moved to another one. Nowadays, kids are on a new team from squirts all the way to 18s every year. So it's crazy how much has changed. And nowadays, if you're playing AAA in your association, don't move. Stay in your association till 18s. 17s, 18s, when you're on the cusp of going juniors, then get an advisor. That's when it matters. But if you're someone who's trying to go prep school, change prep school every year, or change association every year, or you're stuck in AA, you think you might play AAA somewhere else, then that 14, 15 years old is when it's time. I still think that's too young of an age, but I've seen advisors sign kids that are 10 years old, 11 years old. Like that blows my mind. Yeah.
It's just crazy because I had this conversation with a AAA coach the other day. Actually, we talked about the landscape of it, and he was just offered like $120K to coach AAA, like young. Like I know, like yeah, I know. And
wow.
And one of the questions we're having was we were going back and forth because like different organizations have different like rules and policies and standards and stuff. And I know that the organization that he was at was like, look, we usually don't want kids to bill it till they're a little bit older, just because, you know, it's a huge change. Like, that's a massive change. Like, not only like for the kid, but for the families and stuff. But we're also fighting against organizations that have no problem building kids that are 10, 11 years old. And then it comes down to, okay, so you have organization A and you have organization B. The kid is going to leave their small town in the middle of nowhere to play AAA. They want that. The parents have already decided that that's the case. Whether us as coaches or advisors think that's right or wrong, the parents have decided that.
Yeah.
One organization says, hey, like, we don't think you're ready to bill it. Or we want kids to be a little bit older. And one organization says, no, we'll take you right now. And then that organization has a top tier player for XYZ years, where some organizations miss out. And that can be super frustrating. But like, is there any advantage to having an advisor under the age of 15?
I want
That's
to
a tough
tell you
question.
yes, because, like, for example, I was at Wish Cup last weekend, right? A roller tournament. There's a kid from Ohio. I don't remember his name right now. He's supposed to be a top 5 draft pick of his age. He's 9 years old. He's supposed to be a top 5 draft pick. He's already projected.
How does anyone project that? When I was 9 years old, I wasn't even a goalie.
He has 150 goals in like 30 games last season, like something dumb. I saw him play at Wish Cup roller hockey. Nobody could touch him, and he played 3 years older. So, whatever. Whoever predicted that, he has an agent. The agent is paying for all summer training, skills coaches, gear. So for that aspect, sure, it helps, right? You're saving mom and dad 15, 10, 20K a year. But for the kid's development, it's useless. It's just extra pressure. Let your kid have fun playing hockey. Please, for the love of God, let them have fun playing hockey. That is all that matters. Let them do private training. Go do 6 hours of skating with you every week. The kid's going to have a blast. He's going to get better. That's all that matters. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a big believer that you don't need to leave your association until the 17s, 18s, where it's like, let me go play for a serious place, as long as you have the right coaching staff. Because there is some great coaches that live in the middle of nowhere that they can develop great hockey players and keep them in their programs until it's time to go for juniors. But everybody's brainwashed of, I have to be a top 10 program in the country. No, you don't. You really don't.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to agree on most things. And for players watching it, everyone always thinks the grass is greener.
It's really not.
It's really not. And also, think about the upside. If you were on a middle pack team and you were a good player, you're going to stand out. And everyone's going to be like, hey, for me and Grand Rapids, you're the best U15 player and Fox Motors, your first line, blah, blah, blah. Like, people know that. Like, people know, hey, number 12, you're on fire. If you go and leave to, let's just say, Chicago Reefers or Little Caesars or just any arbitrary team that's having a better season, that's a better age group, and you get buried on the third or fourth line, do you think that is going to help your stock if you're just a small fish in a big pond?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of parent, you're it's the allure, and you're obviously being sold different things, and I guess I get it to a degree, but it's important to remember that it's about development, and if you're truly concerned about exposure, as long as you are on a middle of the pack team that is getting invites to play at the big tournaments, people will see you. Like, people are going to see you. And again, I guess, would that be kind of a position where an advisor would be a beneficial thing? And maybe if you're not on a powerhouse team and you're a good player.
Yes, we'll help get you that exposure, right? Like, I have a player that I think he's a 2009. I can't remember the age right now. He's playing in Texas, and Texas has one AAA program, Dallas, for their whole stats.
Yeah,
so
that's another whole thing. I was in Austin last year, and I couldn't believe that.
So it's a nightmare, and this kid's a great AA player. He's dominant. They called me saying, look, he wants to play AAA. He's been begging for years. What do you think? I said, look, if your son is old enough, if he's strong enough mentally to handle ability, I'll help him find a new team. I don't think he has to yet. I think he could play another year or two at home, but if that's your decision, that's your decision. It took me 2 phone calls. 2 phone calls, and one of the top 10 programs took him right away. Kid's going to be a first-line player there because he's unreal. So in that type of situation, sure. But like you were saying, if you're getting 25 minutes a night on a mid-pack or even a low-level team, stay. Please play. Hire an advisor at that point. We'll make the phone calls. Coaches will come watch you. Now with Instat, Live Barn, Flow Hockey, you can watch so much hockey online that these players can be seen.
I
But
love it.
those
I don't have
players
to. I can scout without leaving my underwear. I sit in my underwear and just watch hockey and be like,
well, that's why I have 4
Great.
screens in front of me. I have 8 games going at the same time. Like it's crazy. My wife sometimes look at me like I'm a nutcase, but nowadays with the technology, it's great. But you'd be surprised. I have kids in juniors saying, "Hey, I want to go up to the next level." You're playing 25 minutes a night. Put up stats, and I promise you, colleges will find you.
let's talk about recruiting a little bit, because everyone thinks, everyone thinks, a lot of people will think that getting exposure and stuff comes down to, they so and so works with blah 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 agency and they represent Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby and Wayne Gretzky and all these things. But like, what is the recruiting process actually like for a kid? And I tell this to the boys all the time, and I think sometimes it falls on deaf ears because they're like, "Hey, Jamie, you're just an old man now, but you're an advisor. This is what you deal with." Like, I try to explain that to them. It's like, how'd you get your scholarship? Well, I signed in the BCHL and played one exhibition game, and I had a bunch of offers after one exhibition game. I don't know what to tell you. Like, but so what is that like for you? Boots on the ground. You have some kids. You're trying to get them true exposure. What does a recruiting process look like for a kid who isn't, maybe isn't that superstar when everyone's knocking on the door?
So the easy answer is do your job. Please, for the love of God, get on the ice and do your job. Because it's as simple as coaches trust us. We've built a relationship with these coaches. I make a phone call, coach, I have a guy for you, and I'm always honest. He's not a top guy. He's not a goal scorer guy, but he's a 200-foot player. He'll be a plus guy by the end of the season. He'll block every shot that comes at him. He makes a smart play. And then they go watch. Now, they're going to watch one game. With the amount of players out there, that's all they do. So if in that one game you did not perform well, I get a phone call saying, hey, he might have been good, but he's not for me. So that's kind of how it works. Now, at the younger level with juniors, coaches nowadays, they don't want to do the research. It's really, they're going to EP a kid's name. Oh, he's got numbers. Now I'll go watch film. So if he doesn't have numbers, then that's where I'm on the phone kind of for 2 hours telling him all that he can bring to the table, do this, do that, talk about the film. And then if they like the film, then they'll invite him out for a skate, and then he's got to prove himself. If it's in season, they'll go watch a game or they'll watch it online on Instat, and they'll make a decision from there. But the easiest thing is I'm still the biggest believer that you don't need advisor. If you're performing every single time you're on the ice, you will get noticed. It's that simple. With how much scouts are out there, who's scouting who knows who, all the online games. If you're a great player or if you're a hardworking player and you're consistent, you'll get noticed.
So consistency, I think the one thing that people might have missed there is just that coaches will go watch one game. Mm-hmm. And we can't state this enough in terms of like, you have to take advantage of every opportunity. You don't know who is watching, when they're watching. And like you said at the start, it starts from warm up. The things you are doing on and off the ice, how you conduct yourself. There's a story I'm going to give where Dougie Hamilton, plays in the NHL. We were on the same team. And I remember this would have been Silver Stick tournament, the big one in minor midget, or U16, whatever they call it now. And I had played an unbelievable game, like fantastic. And my dad is just a great guy, a perfect dad, couldn't ask for a better dad. But he, I just made 60 saves. He thought I was tired. He grabbed my bag. And I remember Dougie Hamilton's dad was like, you put that bag right down right now. And that was, first of all, I don't know why my dad did that. He's probably just super proud because he literally carried my bag twice in my life. And it was when I first ever played hockey for one day. And then that day for 30 seconds. So it was like, but it's one of those things in terms of everything you do is being evaluated. And one of my favorite talking points on social media that I purposely do like every year without fail is talk about wheel bags, because it just gets so many clicks and everyone gets so hot heated. But it is true. If you play beer league hockey, no one cares. Come with your grit bag and just, you're there to play hockey. However, if you are playing AAA hockey, whether you agree with the stigma around it or not, there is a stigma, and there is like it's not a taboo, but everyone thinks of it and they make a judgment. Just like if you go to the store and you see someone riding like those like carts at like Walmart or Target. Yep. And then all of a sudden they get up and they go walk all fine and have no problem. When you see that, you're like, that doesn't, you either are very lazy or something else is going on. When you see that with a wheel bag, I'm just telling you that coaches and scouts, they see that and it is a red flag. It, as the kids say these days, it gives them the ick.
And
So
it's the same thing when a kid walks in and he's not fitted and he's not well dressed for a game. It stands out. You look poor for this. You don't look good in front of a coach. You come out and you're still sweaty, disgusting. Your suit smells. It stands out. Even the kids that, like my roommate, for example, in college, loved the guy to death. I'm not going to out him. He used to take his suit off, throw it on a chair, and sit on it. It shows. You're talking to a coach afterwards. Your suit is all wrinkly. It's disgusting.
it's general professionalism. I know, when you walk Hockey Canada and stuff, and there's people are like, well, maybe, Don Cherry obviously being like, hey, I want kids in suits and all these things and teach professionalism. And then there's the other side where it's like, no, kids are too young to be professionalized. And I can definitely understand that kids are professionalized way too young. But there is, personally, my belief is that there is a standard. And for me, when I was younger, I thought it was so cool to put on this, my little clip-on tie. And it doesn't have to, we're not saying go and buy a Gucci or Armani suit. No. You just have, a little, even if you go, I'm pretty sure my parents got mine from Salvation Army and took it to the tailor and paid $20 and had it hemmed in a little bit. But I thought it was so cool because for me, it was like it was like a pro. I mean, all I did was watch Hockey Canada, and you come in and it's like, oh, okay, Jose Theodore's coming in, this long flow looks sick. And I'm like, okay, I'm Jose Theodore when I'm walking in the rink. I feel good. And I know, if you look at the game, there's style now. There's style now. And I love that there's style and there's personality. I think that's good. But you could also have style, but also be professional. And I think, I'm curious though, because you spend way more time in different rinks than me. And you also go to showcases and other things. What are the things that you see that players do that you're like, you need to stop that right now because one, no scout's ever going to pick you up, and two, we're not going to represent you?
So the big thing is the hair thing. Guys have the flow, they have the mullets, and you know what? That's fine. You have the playoff hair. They dye their hair blue. I've seen every color possible. I've seen a rainbow. It's nuts. That's fine. Where I draw the line is when you have a logo shaved in your head and you're playing 18s. Looks horrible. The flow, the mullet, fine. You can still keep it clean, looking nice. I can deal with that. You have the team logo or your number shaved in your head, walk out the door, go home. It's over. Or for me, at the showcase, the Boston showcase, it was our showcase, and I had to tell a couple players, no coach is going to come talk to you because they showed up in the baggiest jeans possible where the three of us would have fit in the same pair of pants, a T-shirt that would have fit 4 people, walking out, making out with his girlfriend. What are you doing? This is a showcase. You're here to showcase your talent in front of coaches. And we're not talking about kids. We're talking about 18-year-olds. This was the older group. The younger group, I couldn't say anything. Whatever. You guys want to show up in sandals and backwards hats. You do what you want. You're kids. But the older group, it's a nightmare. That's where I draw the line. It's under 15s. You're still kids. Have fun. You're playing 16s AAA. There's got to be a certain level of professionalism. At least show up business casual. A polo, nice pants, clean shoes. I'm not saying dress shoes. Black Nikes, black Air Forces, even black Jordans if you want.
With black socks. I remember, shout out Derek Bujan. I remember I wore white socks once and he ripped me a new one. And I
did not do that.
Oh, that's 13, man. Give me a break. I was 13. I didn't know. And I honestly was so scarred from that. And to this day, now it's it's a pet peeve and I see it.
It is.
The one thing I'll add is a soft handshake. And you don't know until someone tells you. You don't have to rake the person's hand, but just having a firm handshake and looking a coach or scout in the eye goes a ton of a way, a very long way. And for me, I'm actually so surprised when someone does that now that it stands out.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, hey, nice handshake.
And perfect example. Princeton was at our showcase, and we talked to that guy quite a bit. He trusts our players and stuff, so he's at the showcase. And of the whole group, I think there's 3 kids that showed up business casual, well dressed. One of the kids walked up to him, shook his hand, and you could tell it was a man's shake. Introduced himself. This is my name. Here's my number. Here's what I'll play for. Who I'm playing for. I'd love to play for you one day. Can you please watch me? He's the only kid who did that in the entire showcase. And all of us advisors turned around and said, wow, that's a hockey player. That is a kid who's taking this seriously, who's here for the right reasons. Everybody else showed up backwards hat. holding girlfriend's hand, dad carrying their bags, lost, like looked like they just got hit by a bus, not ready to skate, showed up late in the locker room, showed up late on the ice, missed the off-ice testing. I was like, what is happening? What happened to the professionalism or to the seriousness?
I think the holding the girlfriend's hand one was a new one for me. And like, look,
They made out in front of coaches, I was talking to his parents, having a conversation. They were right next to them making out. And I had Princeton next to me. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's never going to talk to us ever again. Like I was,
it's just so, don't do that. I know you love your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. Like, that's fine. Just tell them you'll see them after the game. Tell them you'll see them after
showcase. Stay home.
Showcase.
It's not a vacation. Stay home.
And I know, like, someone's listening, and they're probably like, these two guys, they think they're the hockey police. But remember, you are you're representing yourself, and you're because I think this is good. And like, I know Mel Pearson was my coach at Michigan Tech, and he went through a lot of hot water at Michigan, and we're not going to get into that. But the one thing that he always said to us at Michigan Tech, especially before, like, he did not let us have a whole lot of fun. But when we swept, he gave us the green light, have fun. And he always said, remember, you guys are representing not only yourselves, but you're representing your team, your community, the organization, the school, your classmates, and your family.
Yep.
So remember that. And so in this position for the United Showcase, you're trying to go to college, I hope, or you OHL or wherever, you're trying to go move up. And if you are representing you in a way that is going to be deemed by almost all accounts as unprofessional, that is on you. And it's things that you can do. Like, almost every team, like you said, almost every team gives you a polo shirt as part of the account. And if you don't, like, again, you can go to Plato's Closet and get a really nice polo shirt for $10 and a pair of khakis. Less than that. Khakis,
$5. Like,
exactly. And it doesn't have to be the craziest thing. And most of these players here, they golf all summer. Basically, wear what you would wear to the golf course, because if you look nicer at the golf course than you do at a showcase, when your goal is to play in the NHL and you're trying to do whatever you can to give yourself one fighting chance, because you're in a showcase with 150 other kids and you want to be the one to stand out, you have to do everything you can to represent yourself well. And hopefully someone's listening to this and they're like, hey, I've never considered this. And that is why, we do these podcasts. So I would get you on. That is why you're an advisor. Your job is to advise and help kids do these things. But the second you get your cars parked, people are watching.
I want to add two more things to that, though.
Yeah, keep at it. Let's go.
How small is the hockey community?
Oh my God, so small.
I tell you how many people I've spoken to that turn around and said, wait a minute, you played with my cousin 4 years ago, and now, like, the hockey world is so small. We had, I think, 70 coaches at our showcase. They know thousands more coaches, and you're going to get referred, oh, he was at the showcase. I know this coach that was there. Let me call him and see how he was. And nowadays, Muskegon. But
Muskegon's head coach, so funny. He asked me where I played. I was like, oh, Powell River. He's like, oh, I did too. I was like, what year is it? Like, oh, you played. I was like, do you play with Tyler Shalast, assistant coach at Michigan Tech? He goes, oh yeah, he was there. I was like, do you play with Aiden Penner? He goes, yeah, Aiden Penner is my financial advisor. These guys played together. I've never met this guy in my entire life. They asked me to come out and volunteer and help run a camp. Like,
Melcher, one of the goalies I represent, who's playing in the MJ right now, called the coach. I saw the name and I was like, I know this name. What is he doing in Manitoba? Give the call. I heard a French accent, so I started talking French. And I'm like, where are you from? From Montreal. Little did I know, when I played juniors, he was our equipment guy. He is now coaching OCN, did a great job with their program, and he's developing an unbelievable team over there. He's now a coach in the MJ. He's got guys going D1. He's got guys going pro. And then even now in Minnesota, I started coaching youth hockey a little bit. Started working with Adam Carlson. Played at Mercyhurst University. I met him once because he was playing East Coast. He came for a couple skates before going to camp. Moved to Minnesota, called him up. Oh yeah, come skate. Now, who else do we know? Like, the hockey world is incredibly small. And now with social media, it's even smaller. Everything you do is tracked. Everybody can see it.
Let's talk about social media. I think that's the big one. With Bujan, when I was training there, whenever we would run camps, or he would run camps, and I would usually be the assistant coach. And I have this power. I had it somewhere, and it's like social media 101. Because the Winnipeg Jets were like, this was like, I think before Instagram was really big and all these kind of things, definitely before TikTok. But they talked about social media and what the do's and don'ts. And they had someone who was there who like works high up in something. And that was their job, was to monitor all the nonsense. But if you're giving advice to a kid on their social media, because I don't ever want to be like, no, you have to be private. You can't show any expression. Like, I want people to express themselves and enjoy social media. But what are the do's and don'ts that you're telling an athlete when it comes to their social media?
So now, because of NLI, my older guys that are going to go to college and they're good players, I tell them you have to be active on socials. If you want to be able to afford living in college and not live off ramen noodles once a week, you need to be active so you can potentially make some money. However, you don't need to be posting when you get the green light from the coach on the weekend. Put your phone away, lock it up, don't touch it. You do something good in the community, take a picture, post it. You got a crazy highlight, post it. But the things that happen with your teammates, you're hanging out on a Friday night, you're having a couple drinks, or you're playing Fortnite all night, that doesn't need to go online. You know what I mean? There's got to be a fine boundary between the things that you'd be proud to tell your parents about compared to the things where you're just like, Dad, what'd you do last night? Nothing, just hung out with some friends, Like, that's my guideline for players is, if you'd be proud to talk to your family about it, put it online. There's no problem with that. If it's something where you're like, you know what, we just hung out, don't need to get into details, and I'm hoping you're not doing that kind of stuff, but everybody goes through some stuff. Don't post that online. And the game changed, because when we were playing, it was everybody stay offline. Get your phones in a locker, leave it there, and that's it.
Oh man,
now they can make money.
I mean, we're playing BC. Was when you played in Hockey Canada East, were you allowed your phone on game days?
I was allowed my phone for an hour after the game, and that's it.
Yeah, because when I was in BC, the coach that we had there, and it was the coach of Team Canada West, and when he came back, he's like, "This is the rule." We would go on bus trips. If people that know geography in British Columbia, to get anywhere from Powell River is 2 ferries, and it's a lot. It's like 8 hours to get to the mainland, and we would go from like Powell River to Merritt. So we're looking at like a 12-hour bus trip, and we were not allowed our phones on the bus.
Yep.
Oh, but I like to, I talk. It's a resume. Think it's a resume. What would you put on your resume? And it is a resume, because now you get brand deals, like, and all these things, and like companies can send you cool things that if a company sent us anything, we would immediately be kicked off the team and banned for life. But now companies can sell you, give you what's the big one that right now? Quench, free ads here. I don't know what that is. It seems like it's Canadian only, but
it's a high ads. It's basically fast deal.
Okay, there you go. Like, I see that everywhere, and you can get that now. So if you want cool things, representing yourself in a way in terms of that would be appealing to a marketer, to a school, to these things that people see us like, oh man, this kid just looks like a great kid. But whenever I follow all my athletes, I follow them on social media just so that I can see the dumb things they put, and like, they don't delete that, like, take that down, and they learn the hard way. But people are always watching.
I tell everybody, use social media. You should be active on it. I'm not saying post every day like you and I do, but don't be afraid to post. You went out with some friends, you took a group picture. You can post, I took a group picture. It was nice hanging out with my friends, Like,
why does you hide the beers? Oh my gosh,
please.
Especially
if somebody's missing a tooth, don't let him smile because he probably lost it that night. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if you're out playing soccer, post a picture. That's fine. You're a video game guy. You like streaming. Post that you're streaming. Post your setup. Like, give yourself a personality, but be smart about it, because it's something that lasts forever. Like,
was it? Yeah.
I'll never forget one of my old teammates, Johnny Lazarus. Unbelievable guy. Now works for the Rangers. He's working for the NHL doing commentary. He had posted a picture in juniors where he got his teeth knocked out. He got a puck to the face. He's missing 3 teeth, bloody everywhere. All over social media now, that picture pops up. And he posted it like funny, like, oh, it's junior hockey, missing teeth, there's blood everywhere. In college, every game we went to, that picture was printed in big with like some sort of caption attached to it. He was working I can't remember the clip he posted, but he posted a clip talking to an NHL coach. And the guy goes, wait, aren't you the guy who posted a picture of missing teeth in juniors? Like, so it followed him. Now, that's a safe picture. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a hockey thing. But imagine the rest of the stuff you post. Those late night events that should not be captured, you post it online, it sticks with you.
Yeah. So that's definitely the warning there. Now, Stefano, this has been great. It's been going for over an hour. Don't know if I have any. I knocked all the questions I wanted to. Actually, let's see. One thing: if you had one piece of advice that you would give your younger self, and then one piece of advice that you would give a kid navigating today's game, what would that advice be? They don't have to be the same thing.
Younger me would be stop stressing. I was a very nervous goalie my entire life, to the point where I had the shakes until I got my first 4 or 5 shots. Not in warm-ups, in game. And I put so much pressure on myself. And when I got towards the end of my career in college and a couple of years in minor hockey, it made me hate hockey because I was just scared to get to the rink and I get a panic attack. So if I could go back, I would just say, like, enjoy it. And for all the kids playing right now, please, as much as possible, I don't care how difficult the situation is, love every second you get on that ice, because it ends sooner than you think and there's no going back. At this point, like, I still have that itch to play competitive. I just played in the Wish Cup Pro Roller event, and that's why I play Pro Roller now, because it's a competitive weekend. But I got home and immediately I was like, okay, I can get back in shape. I can go try out for an SP team and work my way up. And it's like, you can't do it again. I still have it in me. I still love the game. If I could play 7 days a week, I would, but I'd be living in your physio clinic because my body would kill me. So just love every second you get to play hockey, because this game is unbelievable and it'll give you a lifetime of memories, experiences that you take on the rest of your life, and friendships that you'll cherish forever.
Stefano, thank you very much for joining us. Where can people find you, both on the fun content side and both on the professional side, if they need advice?
So on the professional side, you can go on the AH Advising website. If you send an email, it comes to me. So I will be first in touch. You can DM them on social media, AH Advising. If not, on the fun side, Mr. Heffy with 2 Ys on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. That's where I post dumb hockey content, going back to not posting dumb things on social media. But it's all just fun growing the game, because, like I said, I love this game and I'll probably be playing it until I'm in a wheelchair.
Love to hear it. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Everyone who's listening, watching, thank you very much. Ben says he has some guests set up, so hopefully we'll be a little bit more consistent. The summer is a busy time. Usually we take a break, but you know how it goes with everything we're doing. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that. Share, like this podcast, share it with a friend. It really helps and goes a long way. And we'll see everybody next episode.
Thanks for having me.